Before Chip Foose ever picked up a pencil at Boyd's shop, there was one undisputed king of custom car culture, Boyd Coddington. Born in 1944 in Idaho, Boyd was a machinist by trade who moved to California and started tinkering in a home garage. But what he built there wouldn't stay small for long. By the early 1980s, Boyd's name was synonymous with innovation in the hot rod world. His shop, Hot Rods by Boyd, quickly gained a reputation for clean lines, modern flair, and something rarely seen in customs before: perfection through precision. Boyd's cars weren't just flashy, they were rolling pieces of art. He pioneered the use of billet aluminum parts and created the now iconic Boyd wheels, revolutionizing the industry with a style that fused traditional hot rodding with high-tech sophistication. Every car that rolled out of his shop had a signature touch: swooping fenders, flawless metalwork, and custom details that set trends across the country. His builds weren't just winning awards, they were rewriting the definition of a hot rod. Coddington's influence grew as major magazines featured his work and enthusiasts lined up for his creations. By the 1990s, Boyd wasn't just a builder. He was a brand. He had the charisma, the craftsmanship, and the empire to back it up. Celebrities, collectors, and car show judges couldn't get enough. The America's Most Beautiful Roadster trophy seemed like it was made for him. Behind those shop doors, however, Boyd wasn't just building cars. He was shaping the future of the industry and looking for someone worthy to help carry that vision forward. That's where Chip Foose came in. But in the beginning, Boyd wasn't threatened. He was the king, after all. His name was etched into the chrome and steel of every legendary build he touched. No one, not even the most talented newcomer, could challenge that. Or so he thought. When Chip Foose stepped into Boyd Coddington's world, it wasn't just another hire. It was a seismic shift waiting to happen. Born in 1963, Foose was practically raised with a wrench in one hand and a sketch pad in the other. His father, Sam Foose, ran a modest hot rod shop in Santa Barbara, and young Chip soaked up every ounce of knowledge and artistry the environment had to offer. He went on to study at the prestigious Art Center College of Design in Pasadena, blending technical expertise with high-concept aesthetics. By the time he met Boyd, Foose had already designed concept cars for major OEMs and earned respect for his visionary style. Coddington instantly saw something in Chip: an eye for proportion, a hand that could turn an idea into a masterpiece on paper. Chip wasn't just a designer, he was an artist who spoke fluent hot rod. Boyd brought him into the fold at Hot Rods by Boyd, initially to contribute designs. But it didn't take long before Chip became the creative heart of the shop. The dynamic between the two was electric. Boyd was the industry titan, a master of turning metal into magic. Chip was the quiet, precise visionary who could sketch a car from memory and know exactly how to build it. They were opposites, but complementary. Boyd had the shop, the name, and the legacy. Chip had the future in his hands. Together, they created a streak of unforgettable builds, each one raising the bar. The Cadzilla, the Chizoom, the Sports Star. These were not just showpieces, but milestones in custom car design. Industry insiders whispered that Foose was Boyd's secret weapon, the reason Hot Rods by Boyd kept dominating the car show circuit. But whispers can grow louder. As Chip's designs stole more attention, some began to question: was Boyd building Chip's vision, or was Chip building Boyd's legacy? It was a question neither man wanted to answer. Yet. But the seeds of tension were quietly being planted. For a time, it was magic. Boyd and Chip weren't just colleagues, they were partners in reinvention. Their builds swept up accolades, redefining what a hot rod could be. Chip would draw, Boyd would approve. Then the team would execute to perfection. Together, they created a machine of creativity, innovation, and dominance. The industry watched in awe as Hot Rods by Boyd took home awards year after year, including multiple America's Most Beautiful Roadster trophies, essentially the Oscars of the hot rod world. What made the partnership truly legendary wasn't just the cars, it was the pace and consistency. Their ability to push boundaries without alienating purists. Boyd's shop became a proving ground for ideas that most builders wouldn't dare try. Combining vintage bodies with futuristic drivetrains, creating seamless bodies from hand-formed aluminum, integrating design techniques that looked like they came from Detroit's secret design studios. Foose was at the drawing table daily, often sketching entire cars freehand with only a few reference photos. His attention to detail and proportion was freakishly precise. And Boyd, never afraid to take risks, gave him the green light time and again. Together, they shaped a golden era in custom hot rodding. Their cars weren't just custom, they were elevated. But in every legendary partnership, egos eventually collide. Whispers circulated in the shop. Chip was becoming the face of the brand. Clients were asking for him by name. Some said Boyd loved it, until he didn't. Employees noticed tension. Deadlines grew tighter. Credit for success became a silent battlefield. And as the trophies piled up, so did the pressure. The very success they built together started to pull them apart. By the mid to late 1990s, the relationship between Boyd Coddington and Chip Foose had changed. What was once mutual admiration began to feel more like silent competition. For Boyd, whose name had always commanded the spotlight, the idea that a designer, no matter how talented, could overshadow him was unacceptable. To industry insiders, it was clear. Foose was no longer just a supporting player. He was becoming a star in his own right. Clients started requesting Chip's designs specifically. Journalists asked for interviews with the genius behind the sketches. Awards credited the builds as Foose designed. Boyd was still the boss, but he was sharing more credit than ever before. And that didn't sit well with a man used to being the singular name behind the brand. Chip, for his part, remained respectful. He never publicly challenged Boyd, but behind the scenes, the stress mounted. Rumors suggest Boyd began limiting Chip's visibility, restricting media access, downplaying his role in key builds, even rejecting design choices that didn't match his traditional vision. Some projects stalled in creative disagreement. The pressure inside the shop became suffocating. Team members were forced to pick sides, and whispers of resentment spread. Boyd, ever the traditionalist, pushed for a return to form. Chip, always innovating, pushed forward. The tension was no longer creative, it was personal. Then came the tipping point, an allegedly rejected Foose design that would later become the blueprint for a major award-winning car. Built under the Foose design name. Whether or not it was intentional, the message was clear. Chip Foose was ready to step out of Boyd's shadow. And once that decision was made, there was no going back. In 1998, Chip Foose made the move that would change hot rod history. He walked away from Boyd Coddington's empire. To outsiders, it looked like a quiet transition. But to those in the custom car world, it was a thunderclap. Foose leaving Hot Rods by Boyd was more than an employee quitting. It was the protege stepping out from the master's shadow, and it sent shockwaves through the industry. Chip didn't leave in anger, but insiders say the tension had reached a boiling point. Boyd reportedly felt blindsided. After all, Chip had been more than just a designer. He was the creative force behind some of the shop's most iconic builds. But for Chip, it was time. The creative restrictions, the growing friction, and a desire to carve out his own identity were too strong to ignore. With the support of his wife Lynn and his father Sam, Chip launched Foose Design, a small shop in Huntington Beach, California. It began humbly, with just a few staff members, but Chip had a vision. A studio where design led everything, and where the drama of ego wouldn't interfere with artistry. Meanwhile, Boyd was reportedly stunned and privately furious. According to some close to him, he viewed Chip's departure not as a business decision, but as a betrayal. He had given Foose a platform, a name, and access to the industry elite. Now that very talent he had nurtured was poised to become direct competition. Worse still, clients began to follow. High-end collectors and show car enthusiasts who had once been loyal to Boyd started asking Foose to design their next builds. It wasn't just a loss of talent. It was a shift in momentum. The apprentice was now the rival. For Chip, there was no looking back. But the move didn't just spark professional independence. It lit the fuse on one of the most emotionally charged rivalries in automotive history. What followed Foose's departure was not an open war, but something more unsettling: a cold silence. Neither Boyd nor Chip publicly criticized the other. No harsh words, no scandalous interviews, but the silence itself said everything. Industry events grew tense, rumors swirled, and within the hot rod community, builders, fans, and media began to take sides. On paper, both men thrived. Boyd Coddington continued to run his shop and attract big clients, while Chip Foose, now fully in control of his own destiny, began designing showstoppers that would soon dominate car culture. Yet behind the scenes, the divide grew deeper. Whispers from inside both shops painted a complex picture. Some former employees spoke of pride and heartbreak. Others recalled heated meetings, shredded sketches, and unspoken ultimatums. No lawsuits, no cease and desists. Just an ever-growing chasm between two men who once made magic together. The feud wasn't just professional, it was philosophical. Boyd was the traditionalist, bold, loud, hands-on. Chip was methodical, design-focused, and detail-obsessed. They weren't just different personalities. They represented different futures for custom car culture. One based on branding and muscle, the other on artistry and finesse. Fans began comparing every project, every award. If Boyd debuted a new '33 Ford, Foose responded with a reimagined Bel Air. If Coddington won big at a show, Foose quietly walked away with design accolades. And at SEMA, whispers of who built it better became tradition. The two men never shared a stage again. The industry didn't need a war of words. Their work did the talking. And from that point forward, every build was a silent statement. Every bolt, every brush stroke, was part of a rivalry that needed no voice. Then came television, where the rivalry went from whispers to primetime tension. In 2004, Discovery Channel launched American Hot Rod, starring Boyd Coddington and his high-octane team. The show captured the chaos of custom car building, high-stakes deadlines, flaring tempers, and Boyd's no-nonsense management style. It gave the public an unfiltered look into his shop. And while the builds were incredible, the drama was even louder. Viewers were glued to every episode, watching Boyd push his team to their limits. It was captivating, but polarizing. Just months later, Overhaulin' premiered, with none other than Chip Foose at the helm. The format was night and day, where American Hot Rod thrived on tension. Overhaulin' focused on transformation, surprise, and sentiment. Chip's builds were done in secret, gifted to deserving people, and highlighted his calm demeanor and design brilliance. Fans weren't just entertained, they were moved. The contrast was stark. Boyd's show was a pressure cooker. Chip's was a feel-good showcase of creativity. And audiences took note. Overhaulin quickly pulled ahead in ratings, winning over fans who preferred heart over heat. Behind the scenes, insiders claim Boyd wasn't happy. Some say he felt Foose's show was engineered to outshine his. Others believe the TV networks played up the contrast intentionally, knowing the brewing backstory would drive viewership. Either way, the TV era turned a private feud into a cultural divide. Boyd was the boss with fire. Foose was the artist with finesse. And now, the world was watching. As the TV rivalry intensified, something deeper brewed in the garages, away from the lights, away from the editing room. The feud wasn't scripted. It wasn't for ratings. Those closest to Boyd Coddington and Chip Foose say the tension was real. And it ran deeper than most fans realized. Insiders from both American Hot Rod and Overhaulin began to speak. Some anonymously, others through interviews over the years. What emerged was a portrait of two perfectionists who once worked in harmony but had become creative opposites. Former employees at Boyd's shop described an atmosphere of pressure and hierarchy, where deadlines ruled and tempers flared. Meanwhile, Foose's shop was said to be quieter, more focused on design harmony and calm execution. But the cameras didn't catch everything. Industry whispers suggested Boyd resented the narrative being built around him, that he was the bad guy of TV hot rodding, while Foose played the hero. On American Hot Rod, Boyd often appeared hard-edged, inflexible, even harsh. Foose, by contrast, was portrayed as generous, precise, and emotionally connected to each build. Friends of Boyd claimed the portrayal wasn't fair, that he was passionate, not cruel, and television had exaggerated the friction. Others say Boyd was growing increasingly frustrated as Foose won awards, gained sponsorships, and began outshining his mentor at every major car show. Behind closed doors, the two shops competed for the same clients, the same parts, vendors, even the same media coverage. When SEMA rolled around, every camera crew knew the unspoken tension. Every time a Foose build won Best in Show or a Riddler award, murmurs followed. Would Boyd say anything this time? He never did. Neither of them did. But everyone knew. On February 27, 2008, the hot rod world came to a screeching halt. Boyd Coddington passed away at the age of 63 from complications following surgery. The man who'd defined modern hot rodding, who built an empire with billet wheels and bold vision, was gone. And with him went a chapter of American automotive history. The news sent shockwaves through the community. Fans flooded forums. Car shows held moments of silence. Builders who once competed against him now honored him with tributes. But perhaps the most surprising reaction came from Chip Foose. Despite their silent feud, Foose released a heartfelt statement acknowledging Boyd as the man who gave him his shot. In interviews, Chip spoke candidly about the opportunity Boyd provided, the skills he passed down, and the respect he still held for his former mentor, even if they never reconciled. "He changed the game," Foose said. "Without Boyd, I wouldn't be where I am." At the time of Boyd's passing, many hoped the rivalry might be laid to rest along with him. And in many ways, it was. But even as Foose honored his former boss, the industry remembered how much bad blood had lingered unresolved. Some wondered if Boyd regretted how it ended. Others speculated whether Chip ever tried to reach out. Those questions remain unanswered. What is clear is that Boyd's absence left a void, and it also left Foose as the undisputed face of modern hot rodding. Yet the legacy they shared was still split. While Foose moved forward with grace, many believed a piece of his story would always be haunted by the divide that never healed. A rivalry that started with sketches on a drafting table had ended without closure. Today, if you ask any serious car enthusiast about Boyd Coddington and Chip Foose, you'll likely get reverent tones and a comparison. The student has long since become the master, but that title carries a complicated shadow. Foose design continues to thrive. His builds are celebrated at every major show, and his brand is globally recognized. Chip has become a household name, a mentor to a new generation of designers, and the face of craftsmanship-driven hot rodding. But even now, Boyd's influence lingers in every billet wheel, in every low-slung custom, in every detail-oriented build that values precision over flash. The industry still debates who was the better builder. Boyd had the boldness. Foose had the finesse. Boyd was the trailblazer. Foose, the torchbearer. The truth is, their legacies are forever intertwined. You can't talk about one without the other. Even now, long after Boyd's passing, the community remains divided, not in conflict, but in admiration. Car shows still host tributes to Boyd. Old episodes of American Hot Rod air beside overhauling reruns. And in garages across the world, builders cite both men as inspirations, even if they took opposite paths. The rivalry may have started with tension, but it ended with impact. Two men, one legacy, forever split, yet eternally connected by chrome, craftsmanship, and a silent respect that neither ever voiced, but everyone felt.